Good evening, friends. Welcome to the Indic chat on Ancient Voice, the eternal voices from the past. This talk is arranged by the Indic Book Club and the Indic Academy, founded by Harikaran Vadlamani ji, aimed at increasing the awareness on Indic scholarship, Indic books, and to strengthen our dharmic tradition. Ancient Voice is a website that I created in November 2009. Since its inception, the site grew with around 23,500 plus pages dedicated to Mahabharata, Ramayana, Vedas, and Puranas, with as many as 15 lakh viewers. It has the only complete Mahabharata wiki and the only complete Ramayana wiki available in public domain. Besides, it hosts the 4 Vedas, Rik, Yajus, Sama, and Atharva in wiki format. It also hosts a wiki on Vishnu Puran. Of this, Mahabharata wiki contains around 18 parvas of Mahabharata and around 2,105 chapters, adhyayas, that is found in Mahabharata, and 7,500 plus nouns and a million hyperlinks. Similarly, the Ramayana wiki contains the 7 cantos of Ramayana, 657 adhyayas or chapters, 2,600 plus nouns, and around 2 lakh hyperlinks. Then there is Rigveda wiki, again the 10 mandalas of Rigveda, 1,028 hymns, 10,552 verses, and around 1,300 plus nouns and around 1 lakh hyperlinks. And for Yajurveda, I have created 2 recensions of Yajurveda, the Krishna Yajurveda of 40 books and Shukla Yajurveda of having 7 books. Samaveda with around the 2 parts of Samaveda with 15 books, 34 chapters, and 458 hymns. Vishnu Purana with 6 books, 126 chapters. All of these are found in the Ancient Voice, the website. And besides wikis, this site contains many ancient Indian maps, which I have created, the Bharatavarsha maps that I have created in 2004 and 2007. It contains lineage trees of royal dynasties like the Ikshvakus, Ailas, Pauravas, Bharatas, and Kurus. It contains analysis articles on the Yuga system, Kala Chakra, based on the precession of equinox. It contains articles on the travels of heroes like Arjuna, articles on kingdoms and tribes of Bharatavarsha, articles on Mahabharata, that is the teleserial which is telecasted in Indian television, starting with B.R. Chopra and other new teleserials. So in this talk, I will focus on 2 things. I will talk about what led me to create this site, which is the outer view. And I will also talk about what changes it has produced inside my mind, which is a kind of inner view. Now, to answer the question, what led me to create Ancient Voice? So this will lead into my childhood passion of reading Mahabharata. So I was attracted to Mahabharata at the age of 10 in 1987. So you can guess my age. So the first book I read was the abridged version of Mahabharata by Dr. P.S. Nair in my native language, Malayalam. Then I started reading the illustrated Amar Chitra Katha, a series on Mahabharata. This has developed my drawing and painting skills. I started painting the characters from Mahabharata inspired by this book. And then I became known as an artist in my primary school and won some state level first prize as an artist. So many people said my future is as an artist. And I was also attracted to philosophical concepts like Advaita and topics in physics like Einstein's theory of relativity, quantum physics, time travel, astronomy, space exploration, planets, vector fields, hyperdimensions, tensor calculus, all of these things. So deriving equations to find the volume of a hypersphere or the number of sides of a hypercube, extra were the favorite pastime of mine. And another hobby of mine was to plot the kingdoms and cities mentioned in Mahabharata on maps, which I drew by hand on A3 sheets of papers. But starting with the 1990, I was exposed to computers and I learned computer programming. So this enabled me to create better and enduring digital maps of Bharatavarsha. So I used to mark names of cities, towns, villages, forests, mountain ranges, rivers, lakes of Bharatavarsha in these maps. I used to plot the journeys of the heroes like that of Rama in Ramayana and that of Pandu, Arjuna and others in Mahabharata. So all these exercise enabled me to understand one thing in the early years of my life. So beyond what my school syllabus taught me, that is, there is an ancient Bharata beyond what is seen, beyond what is taught in schools and what is presented in the internet. I got my first job as an IT professional towards the end of 1999, soon after I finished my engineering in electronics and communication engineering. And I expanded my programming skills and finally became a game engineer in Bangalore, creating games. A breakthrough came in my career in November 2001 when I joined ISRO as a scientist. I was fortunate enough to work on the Chandrayaan study phase and also got appreciation from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I was also part of a team that launched GSLV rockets from Sriharikota, manning the launch console, handling the vehicle's cryogenic module. In ISRO, I read books on the discovery of the lost Saraswati River and the lost island of Dwaraka. All of these were discovered by ISRO through its satellite imagery. This turned my interest back to ancient Bharata. I started searching online for more information on our ancient heritage, but it was disappointed that nothing much was there online. You get to read a lot about other cultures like Chinese, Greek, or Roman, but nothing much on ancient India. It is then a platform called Wikipedia. So that was launched and it became popular in that time. I found that this is a good platform to write information about Bharatavarsha, so that no other person like me will feel disappointed about the lack of content on our tradition. So I started contributing to Wikipedia since 2006. I created around 150 plus articles in Wikipedia on the ancient kingdoms of Bharata, like the Kuru Panjala, Surasena, Salva, Matsya, Kashi, Goshala, Videha, Anga, Vanga, Kalinga, Chola, Pande, Kerala, Kishkinda, Konkana, Vidarbha, Haiheya, Avanti, Kunti, Chedi, Dasharna, Anartha, Dwaraga, Sindhu, Sauvira, Sivis, Surabhira, Nishatha, Madrakekaya, Gandhara, Kampoja, Bahilika, Trigartha, all these hundreds of kingdoms. I try to represent each of them as a wiki page. So I created around 25 plus paintings and maps, including the paintings of the 5 Pandavas, Maya Sabha, and the maps showing the kingdoms and cities of Bharatavarsha. So I have made around 1,800 distinct contributions to Wikipedia. And then I realized one thing. The Wikipedia is not a neutral platform like it is portrayed to be. I started seeing frequent vandalism on the pages dealing with the indie content. So this is when I realized that we cannot rely on Wikipedia for writing contents on Bharatavarsha. So this is how I thought about creating a Wikipedia of my own, focusing on indie content. And the answer was AncientVoice. So this site was launched in November 2009. Initially, it contained a few of my former articles from 1996 to 2005. Then I salvaged some of the kingdom articles I've authored in Wikipedia to AncientVoice. I moved all of them to AncientVoice. And my dream of creating a single wiki page dedicated to each of the 2000 plus chapters in Mahabharata materialized in 2010. I wanted to suppress the Mahabharata content in Wikipedia, which is often biased or subjected to vandalism. I wanted to generate an Indic point of view of Veda, Itihasa, Puranas, surpassing the Western Indology point of view that is found in Wikipedia and also in Britannica. But I have only a limited time, being a full-time IT employee since 1999. So how to create thousands of wiki pages all by myself with many interconnecting hyperlinks as found in Wikipedia? authored by thousands of authors, spending years of time. How do that? How do I do that? So initially, I thought of calling Vishwakarma, who has made thousands of mentions of Dwaraka in a single day. So, but finally, the answer came through my software expertise. I created a software tool that could parse English text and then churn them into thousands of wiki pages in a matter of hours. So it took me more than a month to write the software, but after that, it was a matter of few hours. The software generated all the wiki pages on and one page per chapter, dumped them into my local computer. So besides, it detected all the nouns and generated all the hyperlinks, connecting the nouns to the text with as many as 100 to 200 hyperlinks per page. Then it took around 2 weeks to upload all of them into the AncientVoice at the website. So I have uploaded 90% of the pages, and my wife Srija helped upload the rest of the pages. So within 2 weeks, a Mahabharata wiki with 2,000 plus pages and millions of hyperlinks was up and running in the internet, rivaling the Wikipedia. So a few months of my time was spent in classifying the 1,000 plus nouns in Mahabharata, detected by the software, and into cities, towns, villages, pilgrim places, kingdoms, provinces, regions, rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, mountain peaks, forest, names of kings, sage, women, warriors, etc. So you can see all of them in the website. And I repeated my success of wikifying Mahabharata then by working on Ramayana. So for Mahabharata, I used the complete English translation of Kisari Mohan Ganguly with its 18 parvas. But it was difficult to get such full translation of Ramayana with the 7 kandas. So usually Uttara Kanda is missing, 7th kanda that is missing. So this was mitigated by combining the translations of multiple translators. Later I worked with the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva, and the two recensions of Rig Veda like Krishna and the Shukla Yajur Veda. And the last project of wikification was done at AncientVoice, that was on Vishnu Purana. So all of these new wikis were completed in 2011 in a single year of tremendous spiritual ascent in my life. So I wanted to democratize the study of Mahabharata, Ramayana, and all the Veda Puranas, because some of the research material is always like confined into some libraries or it is only allowed to the limited number of searches, etc. So I wanted that something there will be there for free for all, available online. And hence I made sure that all the entire content of the AncientVoice is provided with a Creative Commons attribute, so that anyone can copy and reuse the content with a mere acknowledgement to me or to the AncientVoice. So I plan to extend my project to Sanskrit originals of these texts as well as to all the other Puranas. But now, since I'm in more and more into the IT, climbing the ladders, I get lesser and lesser amount of time. So I have also created more websites like Takshashila, where I created wikis for Iliad and Odyssey, as well as for the Avestan texts like Vendidan and Yast. So my interest in those Greek and Zoroastrian texts was because I noticed an underlying connection between these cultures, as I found that the Danaan Greeks, the heroes like Achilles, Agamemnon, Odysseus, who sacked Troy, is linked to the Danavas mentioned in our Puranas. And I found that Avestans, so which are later Zoroastrians, who call themselves hailing from the Daitya river, it is mentioned in their text, and who hate Devas, and who have their god Ahura Mazda, which I considered as a deified form of Daitya Hiranyakashipu. That they are linked to the Daityas mentioned in our Puranas. So another sister site of AncientVoice, that's called Nalanda, contains my studies on Upanishads and Tamil texts like Silappatikaram and Tirukkural. I have authored a partial English translation of Silappatikaram at Nalanda. It was my first attempt at any translation. So the most discussed topic in AncientVoice are the geography of Bharatavarsha, the tracing of Aditya, Daitya, Danava relationships, the Yuga systems, the Kala Chakra, the Kumari Kandam, all these things. And visitors to these sites, they wrote to me how they benefited from them. So there is a lot of happy moments when I see these emails that visitors send to me. There were research scholars working on some topics or some other topics on Ramayana, Veda, Puranas, and then there were authors who wanted to write books and novels based on Veda, Itihasa, Puranas. So there were philosophers and even students. A famous author who wrote many best-selling novels set in Itihasic Puranic times, they told me, my site Ancient Voice with its analysis articles has unleashed an era of Indic authors. They can now write books and novels based on Indic epics and Puranas on par with Western authors, creating new genres of Itihasic Puranic novels. And then another author said Ancient Voice is a reference site and an inspiration for Indic authors. So all this make me feel happy. And a researcher who wanted to translate Ramayana to German appreciated my effort of wikifying the whole of Ramayana. So he's using my site as a reference to make this translation. And a script writer who was working for a famous Mahabharata teleserial that was aired recently in 2-3 years back. So she sought help from me in writing the script and appreciated my contributions. So many Indic researchers, scholars too appreciated my work. Many of them, I'm still in touch with them, and they maybe I'll converse with them frequently. And then there is an internationally acknowledged author, an American author who wrote novels on India, and still maintains email contact with me after coming to the Ancient Voice. And a researcher on Southeast Asian Angkor Wat temples, and he wanted to work. Wanted me to work with him. But I cannot leave the current profession, and I cannot move very quickly. So Ancient Voice has given many such friends across the globe in Southeast Asia, Tibet, Iran, Europe, Australia, and North Americas. Now comes the interesting part. So what happened inside me as I created Ancient Voice? This is like the inner view, and as a primary preoccupation since the age of 10, I was thinking about ancient past of Bharata. My brain has picked up some unexplainable connection with the ancient world. I often felt my mind turning into a meeting place where different voices from the past come and go. Some of them were of profound wisdom, some of them threatening, and some others bringing different flavors of intense feelings, passions, and emotions. I saw in my inner mind the ancient ascetics like Vyasa, Vasishta, Vatmiki, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Vishwamitra, all of them coming and going. I could hear their voices. It was like a multitude of ancient voices, all wanting to speak through me. This experience of turning myself into a multitude was there with me since the age of 10, and it intensified by around 2009. This led me to name my website as Ancient Voice. Here, this is how the name Ancient Voice has come. My rational mind tried to find some explanation for this inner experience of mine. I have searched through all that I have learned throughout my life, like Advaita Vedanta, quantum physics, relativity, time travel, tensor calculus, hyperdimensions, astronomy. Time traveling into the ancient Bharata, or the rishis coming into my mind through some unknown connections, or am I thinking through my past lives, which extends all the way up to the ancient Bharata, where Vedic rishi live. So these were all some thoughts that has come to my mind. And I searched deep into my being. I tried to think and rethink, linking Vedanta with quantum physics, with relativity, and so on. So finally, I got an answer to my experience within my mind, only to be corroborated with the quantum consciousness studies, which is a new branch of science that emerged in 21st century from quantum physics, which I usually talk to all of my friends. As per this, the consciousness is a fundamental attribute of the universe, and brain is more or less a receiver of consciousness currents. As we think, we create ripples in the cosmic consciousness, and these thought wave ripples extend into the whole of cosmos in all directions and into past and future. The insights and intuitions come into our mind as we think, as we receive thought currents of others, including the ancient sages. So there is no boundary of time here, irrespective of the bounds of space and time. So thus I am connected to this ancient world with the ancient rishis through these consciousness currents, resulting into all of these unexplained experiences. So we exist in this consciousness embodied by our thought currents and rippling from us as a thought verse. So this is our subtle body that we have. That this like we are actually embodied in thought currents, and physical body is only the outer embodiment to locate us in the physical world. So something like when you are playing some virtual games, you need to have a shape. You need to have a position in your virtual world. So the same way you are this current life is also a kind of a virtual game. So we need to have a shape. We need to have a name. We need to have a locality. We need to live in a particular time. So this is how it is. The physical body comes into picture. Then somebody gives a name to us, and we can so that we can be identified. So many people who lived and died at different points of time in points in time and in different places. So they can all be connected through a single consciousness current. So these examples are like Vyasa consciousness, Valmiki consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and so on. So this, however, creates some problem for the linear historians. And this ancient Rishi consciousness descends into our minds if it is well connected and if we provide a viable condition for it. So this descent is otherwise called avatara. So the real meaning of avatara is descent, and descent of the higher consciousness into the lower consciousness. And thus a Krishna avatara, the descent of Krishna consciousness is happening into my mind every time. The Devi Devatas resides in this consciousness continuum, and they are unbounded by space or time, embodied by Sankalpa, the power of our collective thought currents. So they have an existence, and it is really perceivable. And these inner insights continue to swell inside me and further intensified in 2011 and 2012. And it continued in a steady pace in 2014, and it is continuing even now. This is otherwise called the Uddhara and the Ascent, which is the opposite of Avatara, which is the descent. So this is the basis of this often confused, and then the Western discussion about the 2012 event, the fifth dimension Ascent. You get to read about all of this in the internet, and many others like me are similarly experiencing this Ascent or Uddhara. Yes. So hope there was a small disconnection, but I hope people can hear me. So the most Westerners who experience these are all confused, and hence the confusing internet talk about New Age, fifth dimension, etc. Since the advent of electromagnetism, relativity, and the quantum physics, the quantum consciousness, the humanity has seen that science is speaking the same language of spirituality, as it is started discovering the concept of interconnectedness of universe, the interconnectedness of the force field that permeates the universe. Science discovered the unity of space and time and the concept of space-time, revealing future and past as the new directions. It's much like east, west, north, and south. Past and present, past and future are just directions. Since science also discovered that matter is gross form of energy, and energy is a volatile matter. Waves are particles, and particles are waves. So science is thus able to comprehend Maya, and it has one more step to discover self. Science finally discovered the role of consciousness, the role of an observer or self in collapsing the probabilistic quantum wave functions into physical realities. So then, for the first time, science has discovered the role of self in creating reality. So that is what the crux of quantum physics and quantum consciousness. Even the technologies generated by this new branch of science, like electronics, computer science, and internet, are connecting and uniting people more and more into a single wall. So the technology also is doing the same thing, like it's creating unity and connecting people and uniting them. You always talk about connectivity, the entire world turns into a village, and now soon the entire world will start thinking together as a single unit. All these things will happen. So these new technologies are thus another manifestation of the grand spiritual ascent of humanity. And but unfortunately, there are many ideologies in the world which resist this ascent of humanity. So these ideologies that bind people to dogma and bind them to historical events, into fake divinity, fake spirituality, and fake religiosity. So they restrict us into the bounds of space and time. And as the world consciousness tried to move ahead to ascend spiritually and technologically, these old ideologies, which ruled the mind of people for around 2000 to 1400 years, they start agitating. They realize their relevance is eroding in this new world with an ascending consciousness. So this creates a lot of pain. This creates much pain and violence in this world, which is what we are witnessing today. So personally, this ascension or the evaluation within, which has led me to create another sister website of Ancient was called AncientVoice. It's another website. It captures my shock on the recent violent events, and it captures my regained calmness. As my awareness increased due to the exponential rise in the intuition and the insights in this 2011-2012 period, this constituted my ascent or uddhara. So this is my ascent. This has also led me to a deeper understanding of what we call dharma. So many in the today's world think that dharma is a thing of past. I mean, it has happened some thousands of years ago. So they think we need to embrace Western universalism because that is what currently the hot. So they say Sanskritam is a dead language and we need to move on. So, but the insights in me help me to understand that nothing in past is ever lost. Whatever happens in the past is still there and as real as what is happening today. So they appear to be apparently lost in this physical world confined by the illusory bounds of space and time. And like everything inside the internet is available in the click of a button, everything in the past is accessible to us just by the click of a thought. Dharma exists in like an internet or an intranet, where we are connected with others through thought currents, with those living in the current moment. So all of us are connected, and with those rishis and dharma suryas living in the ancient past, we are all connected, either in the present or in the past. We are all connected through these thought currents and ripples of thoughts spread across the consciousness continuum, unbounded by space and time. So dharma is thus ever alive. The ancient rishis descend into our minds and see through our eyes, act through our limbs, and speak through our lips. Dharma is thus alive through us, and it's like ever before. And we are the torch bearers of dharma in this current time, and we are here for a purpose. Each of us has to find our purpose. Yoga, dhyana, and swadhyaya will help us to reconnect with this dharmic consciousness, and it will signify the start of our collective ascent or uddhara. And I wish all of you, all of my friends, a happy ascent. And thank you. And is there any? I will look for questions. So let me go through the comments. Yeah, Nitin Sridhar says great work with AncientVoice. Kudos to you. Thanks, Nitin. And I am a great follower of your articles and the India Fact magazine that you are working with is really a tremendous platform for all the people who are engaged in the creating more and more books and articles on Indic content. And it's a really a wonderful platform. And Sridharan ji, thanks for participating. I mean, attending this Indic chat, and you are a great inspiration for me. And I will like you have mentioned to create write a lot of books. Unfortunately, I'm kind of in a situation in which the most valuable thing is the time, and all of this is now currently going into the corporate life. Not very lucky in coming out of this corporate life as of now. But of course, all these things are in my mind. I will be contributing my thoughts in the form of books starting from this year. And thanks, Manish ji, for your encouragement. And yeah, Dimple says, "Wow, that's amazing to know." Yes, yes. AncientVoice is being used as a reference site, and I get a lot of mails regarding a lot of means different parts, different information I have put in the site, and it's a pleasure in reading all these emails that visitors of the site send me, and I try to help in whatever ways I can depending upon the time that I have. And yeah, thanks Chetana Ramanna and okay, Raj Vedam. All thanks for all of you. So Sridharanji again says, I'm going to plant some beef in your house. Have you for write book? Okay. So yes, it's a done deal that the books will be following suit. Interesting to link the. So Raj Vedamji says, interesting to link the ascent that you refer to with the ascending Yuga cycle. Yes, so I have written a great deal about the Yuga system, and one aspect, anyway, because it's a different topic, but I can maybe summarize because it's very relevant. One aspect of Yuga system which I have been a little apprehensive about is that a lot of people are getting carried away by the astronomical Yuga system, which is actually developed in a later stage than the Yuga system that existed or that was actually used by the rishis in the Vedic Aitihasic age. So because it's already recorded, already mentioned in Mahabharata that the actual Yuga system that the Pandavas followed, actually it was something of a duration of around 12,000 years. This was in a conversation in between sage Markandeya and Yudhishthira. This particular concept comes into picture. But they say that the Treta Yuga, that is our first Yuga, is around 4,000 years old. And then Treta is 3,000, and Dwapara is 2,000, and Kali is 1,000 years in duration. And there are dawn and eve of these Yugas, each of them 400. For example, in case of Treta Yuga, it will be 400 years each, and Treta 300, Dwapara 200, and Kali Yuga 100. So if you add a total of it, it all comes to around 12,000 years. And 12,000 years is something which also matches with all that studies that we have done, all these recent studies on the climate change, then ice age related studies. So all these points towards this particular 10,000 years of period where human, otherwise the hunter-gatherers, they started settling all over the world and then started farming, and then they have plenty of food resources so that they can start thinking and free up their mind so that they become receptive of higher ideas, because it's like connecting to the universal consciousness, and because they are at leisure, they are not feared by a predator coming and attacking them. So they have a sedentary life. These have all started 10,000, 12,000 years ago, and that is how all these renaissance, all this new knowledge, Veda, all the technological advancements that is we are seeing in Treta and Dwapara Yuga, all this is came to be. So the problem of believing in a astronomical Yuga, so this has come about because subsequently as the time passed by, there were a lot of mathematical advancements, and people started knowing about the cycles of planets. the Jupiter cycles and various other cycles. The time it takes for all the planets to come together after a long period of time. So all of this runs into thousands of years. So then there was for example, based on the works of Aryabhata and all the other mathematicians, the Yuga system was expanded to create a time scale for astronomical calculations. So then it creates a kind of there was a multiplier, for example, a multiplication of 360 that happened. So 12,000 multiplied with 360, that becomes a big, huge number. So, but what happened is that many people wrongly use the human time scale Yuga, which is around 12,000 years, and then confuse it with the Deva Yuga or the Yugas running into lakhs of years, which is actually meant for as a frame of reference for astronomical events. And then they automatically confuse that Kali Yuga is thousands of years. I mean, it's 1,42,000 years, around that kind of years in duration. So the impact it happens, the result is that it creates a problem for the renaissance of dharma, because when your Kali Yuga is hundreds of thousands in duration, then at the current moment you don't have any chance of thinking about the revival of dharma, because our scriptures are clear that your renaissance will happen all after the end of Kali Yuga. So of course this is not history, and it is not you can say the modern, like, it is not a statement of a modern science, but of course all your thoughts, all your conscious thoughts plays a role in creating an impediment in your mind, and automatically your idea of revival of dharma get affected, because you automatically think that okay, everything is going to be worsened and worsened, and there is no real chance of the perfect emergence of dharma, because it's thousands of years ahead. So you automatically are discouraged to do something in this current period because of all these thoughts, that negative thoughts that you are coming into your mind. So this is one aspect, I would say, because it's aligned with this particular talk. So we need to really rethink on the actual duration of the Yuga system, and understand the differences between the durations. So in the Yuga calculations, because the Yuga starts with just 1 year. Even 1 year is considered as a Yuga, because that is the smallest Yuga, and that is why you see the Kannadigas and many other people celebrate Yugadi every year, because every year it is a Yuga, and there is a 12-year Yuga that is connected with the revolution of Jupiter, and thus it goes. And again in Mahabharata there is a 10,000 year long Yuga, which is described by Sanjaya in a conversation between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. So these durations are varies, and applicability into different events. So human events has to be assigned with 10,000 or 12,000 years of Yuga, and astronomical events has to be assigned with that bigger Yugas, astronomical Yugas. Otherwise, you end up in a lot of confusion, and you find it difficult to explain a lot of events, like the life of Rama or Krishna. So in a very convincing manner. So this is something. Of course, this is a very different talk, but this is one aspect of the Yuga system connected to the revival of dharma and of consciousness that I would like to talk. I would like to explain here. And yeah, so hope I think I have explained this. Any other comments? I'm not sure if all that I have talked makes sense to all of you, and I just go through the other comments that has come into the chat. Yes, and of course, this discussion is around mentioned as 1 hour. So anybody, if they want to ask a question, they'll be able to ask. But in the meantime, I will basically talk about the Indic Book Club and the Indic Academy a little more. So this particular initiative in the form of Indic Book Club or Indic Academy, it has got a very ambitious kind of a purpose because you see you might have seen like how the like the political as well as the academic scenario that is there in India for the last 20 years and how it has deteriorated, and there is a tremendous force, a tremendous pressure on all these people who are working to on the revival of the ancient tradition of Bharata and the dharmic traditions of Bharata, because there is a kind of pressure that is being applied from various parts of the world, especially because of the ideologies that I've mentioned, which is they which are restless and which are basically agitated because of all the changes that is happening all over the world. There is a force of consciousness that is trying to bring the people, make them ascend upwards, and because of that, it's kind of a wind, it's kind of a huge wind that is blowing and churning out the world, and then uh, so there is some kind of a clash between the forces which want to keep humanity grounded onto certain dogmas, and there is also this particular upward movement force which try to elevate the consciousness of the individual as well as the collective and the whole of humanity. So here, like the Indic thought has a big role because Bharata actually was at the forefront of understanding these concepts, like and Sanskrit literature is actually the primary vehicle through which all this information have been transmitted through generations, and which is now available to us. And so there is like there should be some activity, some kind of organized thought, an organization has to be there, or a thought has to be there to revive this like the Indic thought process. And there is also a lot of attempt in like trying to in the scholarship field, there is a lot of attempt into trying to explain everything that is related to India or Bharata, like Mahabharata or Ramayana or Vedas. There is field of social studies called Indology, which try to look at all these Sanskrit literature in a Western perspective, and they try to deconstruct the Indic thought. And for a long period of time, there are no original thinkers, of course, with a few exceptions. There are no original thinkers to answer this Indologist point of view. And so this is a very humble attempt from Indic Academy, so that a group of like-minded thinkers start like working together, authors of books and lawyers, politicians, and artists, and all those people who love Bharata, all those people who love dharma and our traditions. There is a platform that is being created to bring them together and then create some kind of like a movement or a ripple, or in my words, it's a ripple in the consciousness, so that we will be able to bring back that ancient traditional wisdom back to Bharata again. And this is not some kind of an expansionist kind of thought like we find in the West. It is the all the philosophy and the concepts of Bharata are basically non-invasive, and they are meant for the benefit of the individual as well as the humanity. There is nothing like a dogmatic principle in which we have to adhere to, and all of these are like any of these scientific disciplines which is neutral, and it is for everybody irrespective of your previous backgrounds. So just like yoga, because yoga is irrespective of who does it, it benefits their mind and their body and their higher consciousness. So modern world, because it is in an agitated state currently because of the different forces that is acting on it, it requires the support and help from thinkers from Bharata to raise forward. So that is where the Indic Academy plays a role, and Harikaran Vatlamani ji is the founder of Indic Academy, and he is helping out all the scholars and all the different writers and the people who write the novels and books on Indic, Aitihasic, Puranic, Vedic content. So there is a lot of synergy happening, and it is very interesting to be part of this particular group. And it has I foresee a lot of things that will be happening in the future because of these activities. Oh, okay, I got some more questions. Okay. Yeah, Anjali George says that you should write a book. Yeah, yes, definitely. And yeah, Sridharan ji says, do you think Abrahamic will defeat it? If yes, by how? It's basically, yeah, it's like basically it will happen through understanding. So there is no way we can there can be a force, or it cannot be based on a compulsion or anything like that. It will be definitely based on the awareness, like, and the awareness is happening as we talk. It is happening all around the world. The thought currents of the consciousness, the ascendancy tendency that is it is all over the world. Even though this is not something that can be seen, it's happening inside the mind of people. A lot of people are now started thinking within their mind about based on whatever is happening all over the world, all the agitations, all the violence, and this thoughts are happening on an individual basis. So of course we will not be able to see anything on the ground, because it's an inner activity. So, and a lot of questions are being thrown in the minds of each and every individual, irrespective of their their current personal beliefs, and all of these are pointing towards expanding the consciousness and elevating themselves into a higher state, so that this lower level reptilian kind of thoughts of violence and aggression will be subdued, because these are actually something that we have to leave out. Since we are in the 21st century, there is no place for all this aggression and violence. And every individual, even the people who are actually at the forefront of these violent activities, will be getting a pinch, or a pinching thought will be coming inside their mind of the meaninglessness of this mindless violence and aggression. And it is slowly, I feel that slowly it is in the decline. Of course, agitation is one thing, so you will see oscillations, you'll see rise in the violence, and then it comes down, and this will continue for some time. But ultimately, just like a wave, just like a flame that flares up and then subsides, all this violence will flare up and then oscillate, and finally we will be living in a better place. And that is my belief, and that is what I see when in my inner mind. So this is what I have to say on this. So if there are no other questions, uh, I would like to conclude this talk, and I, I, I'm feel thankful to all of you from the bottom of my heart for attending this talk, and I hope this talk has you have benefited at least some points or some aspect of what I have talked, that you have benefited from it. And definitely any further questions, I am connected with most of you people in various other ways, so you can definitely connect with me, and we can have a lot of meaningful discussions about various topics I've discussed. And of course, please, I would also suggest all of you to please visit the AncientVoice website and go through the various resources that is available. You need not have to look at the analysis articles that I have written here, because that is my point of view. But of course, those source content, which is from the original sources, it will definitely help you to write many books. And I wish I request all of you to start writing a lot of novels and books and poems on India, like based on the events mentioned in Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Vedas and Puranas, and thus enrich our literature as well as our scholarly field. I wish all the scholars to write a lot of scholarly papers and submissions based on the Bharatiya tradition and our Vedic Aidihasic Puranic tradition. So I have one more question from Venkat Sundaramji. So do you think Kali Yuga being referred to as the bad Yuga, the worst of Yugas, has lead to the defeatist attitude? Uh, it is not you cannot consider it as a bad Yuga, but of course, what the cycle means, the Yuga cycle means, is that there is a cyclic aspect to it, and this is a law of nature, that anything goes up or ultimately come down. There is a cycle to it. So of course, when you have a age of absolute wisdom, where this whatever I mentioned about the connection with the consciousness or the thought currents are very powerful, and you can easily connect to it. And then slowly, because as your activities increases, like see, an ascetic or a rishi or a tapasvi, the person is fully immersed in the yoga and dhyana and swadhyaya, and so fully connected with the consciousness. And most of the individuals in the Rita Yuga, they are fully aware of this higher consciousness and always well connected. But when the activity increases, like in Treta Yuga, you are more into the physical world. You are actually more into building up cities, towns, and so there is a lot of the complexity of life increases, and then you're slowly focused onto the external, and it finally goes to Dwapara, where you are having a little more technologies, and then there is more there is more things to do, and in Kali Yuga you have even more of these things to do. So definitely your ability to connect to this universal principle or some which that will go down, but it also provides a lot of other opportunities in the form, like even technology starts speaking in terms of spirituality, and that is what happening in this age right now. So each yuga have its own merits and demerits. Of course, in the Kali Yuga, it is mentioned as okay, even in Puranas, it's mentioned as there is a darkness. But of course, there is opportunity in that. in the sense that you are actually understand the intensity or the gravity of a situation where you are actually not fully like most of the humanity is not fully connected to the wisdom or the purity of consciousness, and that make you aware of the value of the, the higher approaches. So that way you can say that it imposes a lot of challenges at the same time. It creates a lot of objectives, a lot of challenges for you as an individual. And we are all born into Kali Yuga. That means that we are set to do things in this age. And so this is a choice that we have made, and that is the reason why we are here right now, interacting and speaking. So definitely we need to find out what exactly each of us has to do, but definitely there is a purpose that because of which we are found in this particular age. So I think I have been speaking incessantly around 1 hour, I think, and it was actually personally it was very wonderful, joyful experience to interacting with all of you, and it was actually a lot of it's an enjoyable experience interacting and being with all of you, and I can feel a kind of a connection, a kind of a sense of connectedness and togetherness with all of you, and I really really wish each of us to experience this ascent, this rise in the consciousness, and then have your own inner journeys. Thanks a lot. I'm concluding. Have a nice evening. Thank you.